It's Monday, March 19th. I'm your host, Sarah Beal. On today's show, we'll talk to Alice George about the Mercy Otis Warren Cape Cod Woman of the Year Award. Then we'll talk with Police Officer Therese Gallant about the upcoming alcohol compliance meetings. And finally, Matt Cormier of Cape Cod Community College will join us to talk about admissions for the summer semester at 4Cs. But first, let's get a look at today's top headlines. Summer Leisure Program registration has been postponed due to Winter Storm Skylar. Summer Leisure Program registration is now scheduled for Tuesday, March 20th, beginning at 8:30 a.m. Please bear with us as the storm has caused power outages and computer server issues, which is why registration has been postponed. The Department of Public Works invites interested individuals to attend a public information meeting regarding planned improvements along portions of C Street and Ocean Avenue in Hyannis. The meeting will be held at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, March 21st at the Hyannis Transportation Center. The purpose of this meeting is to provide residents an opportunity to review the proposed improvements prior to final design and to learn about the projected time frame for construction. Construction is planned to start in the fall of 2018 and is anticipated to continue through 2019. The Hyannis Fire Department is offering Stop the Bleed training free of charge to anyone in the community who is interested in learning basic, life-saving bleeding control skills. This program teaches basic bleeding control skills that any person is capable of performing. The goal is to create a safer community by empowering our citizens with the knowledge and skills necessary to save a life. They will be offering 2 classes on National Stop the Bleed Day on March 31st at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. Class times are 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Individuals can sign up by going to bleedingcontrol.org and select Find a Class. You can also email your interest to mmedeiros@hyannisfire.org or call 508-775-1300 and request the voicemail of EMS Officer Medeiros. Up next, Mercy Otis Warren Woman of the Year Award Committee member, Alice George. Alice, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
We're going to talk about the Mercy Otis Warren Cape Cod Woman of the Year Award, which I think is just an amazing award to be given out to, a woman on Cape Cod who has just really given a lot to her community and to our region. Can you tell me a little bit of the history of the award?
Well, I'd be happy to. This will be the 17th year we've given out the award. And the statue in front of the courthouse in Barnstable Village is what prompted the idea that we could have a Woman of the Year in the name of Mercy Otis Warren. And Mercy's statue went up beside her brother, James Otis, because of her tremendous contribution during the time of the Revolution. Her brother James was known as the Patriot, and he gave a speech which is considered to be the speech that really encouraged the start of the Revolution. So he was a very significant character in our history. And Mercy was educated with her brother at the church in West Barnstable. In the day, it was unusual to have a woman tutored to the extent that she was tutored with her brother, but her father recognized that she was a very talented person. And so when her brother went off to Harvard, he shared with her what he was studying. So even though she did not have a college education, she had the benefit of reading and studying whatever her brother was studying at Harvard, which
That's
is
amazing.
Really wonderful. And while at Harvard, James Otis met General Warren, that he introduced to his sister, and they ultimately were married. And that's how she became Mercy Otis Warren.
Wonderful.
And through her fine education and her marriage, she became a writer. She did not always write under her own name because it was not considered appropriate in the day to have a woman write under her own name. And she wrote about the issues of the day, why we needed to have this revolution, and she wrote all kinds of, in all kinds of areas, plays, pamphlets, a book of the history of the Revolution. So she was a prolific writer. And when her husband was fighting in the Revolution with George Washington, she ultimately went to Plymouth, Massachusetts, ran the family farm. So she was a person who was not only a writer, but a businesswoman, and very successful in her life, and a really important resident of this peninsula.
Yeah, definitely. She sounds like an amazing woman, and I think it's, she's a great person to name an award like this after. How did the award get started? You said it was started about 17 years ago. How did that come about?
Well, after erecting the statue, which was done by David Lewis, as the statue of James Otis was, we were just having a follow-up session after having accomplished that, and somebody in the committee just had the idea, well, maybe we could have a Woman of the Year, and that is the way it started. And I was chairman of that committee for about 10 years. A woman named Annalee Carniala was the first chairman. She did it for a year, and then for the next 10 years I did it, and now it's Judy Scarafile. And it is a county-wide project from the bridge to P-Town, and we distribute brochures to the post offices and the libraries, and that is where you will find the brochure. May I hold up this brochure?
Yes, of course.
So this is the brochure for this year, and that's where they can be found if you would like to nominate someone for Woman of the Year.
Let's talk about some of the previous women that have received this award, because it's a pretty good list.
It is indeed. It is indeed. And if I go back 17 years, it might be a long time. But there was a woman named Marion Voulamir who had on the public access television the longest running book review program in the nation.
Wow.
On public access TV. And she was quite a dynamo. And then the next one was Jean Gardner, and Jean Gardner was very active in promoting Mercy Otis Warren by dressing up like her, going into the public schools and telling her story, and she had done that for years before we had the statue. And then there was Eugenia Forts. She was the third person. Eugenia had made such a significant contribution to our community, our African American community. She was a wonderful woman. And so we've had some. The last person was Dolores DeLuz, who was well known in the town of Barnstable. But we have had recipients from all over the Cape. Bonnie Snow from Orleans, and Mary Lou Pettit is from Wellfleet, and there have been, many people in between, many distinguished people.
Yeah, it's a good list, and it's you definitely some amazing women on that list. We have a lot of amazing women here on Cape Cod.
We do indeed, and this is a wonderful vehicle by which to recognize people who have been active in the community.
Wonderful. So these brochures are out. People can pick them up at the libraries and the post offices, and it gives you all the information you need to know in order to nominate someone. Nominations are being accepted until April 16th.
That's correct, yes.
And it's, there's, all you need to do is you need to do a typewritten page describing what qualifies the candidate and makes her unique in deserving such an honor. And it doesn't need to be 5 pages long.
Oh no, we like to have it just be the one page, the one typewritten page. And Mercy was active in the community, obviously, and so we want to have the person nominating describe how their nominee has been active in the arts, in education, in business, in volunteerism on a local level while embracing the ideals of patriotism. So it's a pretty broad criteria, and it is very helpful to just have it be the one page. So we think that that's not too onerous for somebody to think that they could type up one page about a person, and it's online if people like, or they can mail it in. All the information is contained in this brochure, so you can do it online, or you can write it out and mail it in. And so we encourage people to think about someone that they feel has been active in those 3 areas, and think about just putting it down on paper.
Wonderful. If you're looking for this information online, it can be found on the Barnstable County website.
Yes.
And like we said, the flyer will be available in post offices and libraries from the Bourne Bridge all the way to P-Town.
Exactly.
And all women are, eligible to be nominated. It's, anyone from the Cape. It doesn't have to be from Barnstable. I know there's been
that's correct.
There's been a few winners from Barnstable,
yes,
but that does not limit the award. It's Mercy Otis Warren Cape Cod Woman of the Year.
That's right. That's
Wonderful.
right.
Alice, thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thank you very much for having
really
me. We
appreciate
appreciate having this exposure for this wonderful award.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My guest today is Alice George. She's on the committee for the Mercy Otis Warren Cape Cod Woman of the Year. Coming up, we'll learn all about 4C's summer semester with Admissions Director Matt Cormier. But first, we talk to Officer Therese Gallant about the upcoming alcohol compliance meetings. Officer Gallant, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to talk about the alcohol compliance meetings, which are coming up in April, and those are for businesses that sell or serve alcohol, which means restaurants and package stores and liquor stores. And you're going to take a different tact this year with the meetings. So let's talk a little bit about why you have the alcohol compliance meetings and what the changes are going to be this year.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here, by the way.
Thank you.
Happy Monday.
Yeah.
So in the past, my understanding is I did the meeting last year. I did not do the meeting prior to that. But last year it was more about addressing rules and regulations. There have been some changes, and I think that was part of the reason why we went over the rules and regs. This year, in speaking with Lieutenant Murphy and Mr. Scally and Ms. Hartsgrove, we decided to take a different approach to this. So originally it was, these are mandatory meetings, and part of it is because we get a lot of new businesses coming in, throughout the year, holding alcohol licenses. And we want to know who our new people are, and just to kind of fill them in on who we are and what we're looking for. In years gone by, I know there was a lot of recitation of rules and regs, and so to do it a little bit different and to get more of an appeal to our audience, we decided to address some concerns that have come up in recent times throughout the Cape and in the town of Barnstable, and that would be to speak to over-service issues. So Lieutenant Murphy and I had a discussion, and we thought what we'd like to do is have someone come in and address our licensees about the concerns, the civil concerns in holding a license, and if something were to take place, what they might be facing. So we had Attorney John Kenny has graciously agreed to attend our meeting and to speak to that particular topic. In addition to that, part of the over-service compliance checks that took place in the Cape were conducted by the ABCC. Specifically, I know Investigator Jamie Benender, our local investigator, was involved with that, and I had conversation with him afterwards. So Investigator Benender has graciously also agreed to attend our meeting. So I thought we'd take a two-prong approach to this, and Lieutenant Murphy and I thought it would be the best way to kind of engage our audience and also to offer our services as well. One of the other things that we were looking to do as well was to, obviously we're looking for input from our licensees, and we thought we would offer our services come May, because a lot of our folks that hold the licenses, I think I spoke to you about this last time, they understand the responsibility of the license. I think though when you're hiring staff, that sometimes does not necessarily trickle down, and we're looking to offer our services to the businesses to come out and speak to their staff, especially newly hired staff, to address those concerns, specifically what we'd be looking for on our compliance checks, or what the ABCC might be looking for on their compliance checks, and also to address, needless to say, the underage alcohol issues and checking IDs and things of that sort.
Yeah, it's a very serious issue, and unfortunately, something we have to deal with here on Cape Cod is we have a vacation mentality, especially in the summertime. So, people get a little loosey-goosey, and you just want to make sure that people understand that this is a very serious issue. The town takes it seriously, the police department takes it seriously, and the businesses should too, because it affects not only their business, but also affects the town if we're having issues with, alcohol and things of that nature.
Exactly. And I think a lot of businesses are, I think they're getting to know me, and they're getting to know what I'm about. And, rather than coming in and being I've said this before, it's not just about the enforcement, it's also about education. And
right.
I really do think it's important to remind people of their responsibilities. We all need that, including myself, and I think it's a good way to interact with these businesses. And Lieutenant Murphy, obviously has done that as well, and continues to, look for us to do things like that. Try to take innovative approaches to things. And what I'm looking for is some input from our licensees as well, that if there are other topics that they'd like to address, I kind of pulled this one out of the hat this time around. What I'm hoping is, as we progress through the future, that we have other things that maybe are important to them that I'm not aware of, and that we can bring some people in that could speak to those particular topics or concerns.
Right. Knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
And it's important for these businesses to understand that having a liquor license is a privilege. It's not a right. They are granted this through the state and through the town. So, it's important that they respect that, as well as, the residents here and the visitors.
Exactly.
What else about the alcohol compliance meeting do you want to make sure our residents are aware of? Because I think it's important for people to understand the steps that the town takes, and that we're looking out for the town's best interests and the best interests of the residents of the town. So I think it's important that even though the residents won't be attending these meetings necessarily unless they're a business owner, it's important to know that this is something that goes on.
Absolutely. And I think that, so let's see, the responsibility of a licensee, obviously, and then that the police department is directly involved with these businesses. And I want our people to know that, the people in our community know that, and that if they have concerns, there are ways to voice those concerns themselves. They can get in touch with myself or Lieutenant Murphy about these concerns if there's something specific that we can address, or if they want to speak to the great way that someone's doing their job, that they've been very effective and they handle their public very graciously, courteously, that they dealt with a problem appropriately and whatnot. We have different businesses, as you mentioned. We have the liquor stores as opposed to the restaurants. Very different businesses. Some of those issues or concerns cross, definitely, but they're very different. The clientele can be very different. Here on Main Street, you come down here on a weekend night, especially during the summer, it's a whole different Main Street, and it's wonderful to see the Main Street thriving, and it's good to see that our licensees, that our folks are out there, and they are. I've seen them out there. I've been out on Main Street at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm seeing our people out there, and I appreciate the fact that they're very involved. And I try to touch base with everybody. So I want our community to know that the businesses are doing their due diligence, that they are involved. These meetings are mandatory, and again, it's to remind people of their responsibilities and to catch the new people coming in so that they're aware of how seriously we take this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming in and talking with us about the alcohol compliance meetings. I think it's really important and it's an informative subject.
Absolutely.
I want people to know about.
Thank you very much.
My guest today is Officer Therese Gallant. She's a police officer here in the town of Barnstable. Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that a lot of colleges are on spring break, and this is kind of a good time maybe for some of those students that are maybe coming home for spring break to think about maybe taking a course at Four Seas this summer.
Definitely. That's something that we have happen quite a bit at the college, where students are maybe at another school, they want to get ahead in their program, or they need to retake a class for some reason. They come to Four Seas and they can take that class over our summer.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What kind of classes do you offer in the summertime? Is it, just like you do in the fall and the spring semesters?
We offer a wide variety of classes. So English classes, psychology classes, even some of our sciences with chemistry and anatomy and physiology. There's a lot more than that, but yeah, we have a lot of options for students.
Wonderful. What would be the process be like for a student that maybe is going to another college or university, anywhere in the United States, and they're either visiting here for the summer or they're from here, and how does it work to take these courses?
Yeah, so we try to make it as simple as possible for people. So the biggest thing is for students to check with their college to make sure they'll accept our credits. Once they get that approval from their home institution, they can come into the college with a copy of their transcript, and we can get them signed in for their class. And they're not going for a degree program, so they're not going to get any financial aid for that one class that they might take over the summer. But they will still be eligible to have it transferred back to their home institution as long as they verify that first.
Right, and they don't have to apply to Four Seas. Like they don't have to go through the whole application process.
Right. It's as simple as coming to the advising center with a copy of their transcript and signing up for a class or two.
Wonderful. What is the cost for someone that's interested in taking a summer course? And do the courses run? Do you have shorter courses, longer courses? What are the course lengths like? So
we offer 3 different summer options. We offer the full summer, which starts in May and ends in late August. And then we have Summer 1 and Summer 2. and those go from about May to July, and then from July to August. So some quicker terms as well. And there, so students could do like English Composition 1 and 2 over the summer.
Oh, wow.
If they wanted to. As far as the other question, I can't remember.
Cost.
I'm sorry. Cost, yes. So sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Cost is $189 per credit
Okay.
for a Massachusetts resident. If somebody's not a Massachusetts resident, say they're visiting from out of state somewhere, it's $395 per credit.
Okay.
Typically, classes are 3 credits, except if you're doing a science with a lab, those are usually 4 credits.
So it's a pretty good savings if you think about it, and you can get one or two of your requirements for your college taken care of over the summer. It kind of gets you a little bit ahead. And like you said, it's good for students if they want to take a class to, maybe get a little bit further ahead, or if someone has to retake a course.
Exactly.
Which happens, It's college. Sometimes when people go to college, it's a little daunting. It's a little bit more difficult than they expect. Maybe you didn't get that grade that you really wanted to. It's be a good way to like kind of bump up your GPA.
Exactly, and it can even work for high school students too. We offer dual enrollment programs where students can be enrolled in high school and still come and take classes with us over the summer.
Oh, that's
so
great.
while they're off and get a head start and maybe take the first level course, and have it count towards their high school degree and their college degree. So
that's
it's an
cool.
option for them too.
I didn't even think of that. High school students could come in and do the dual enrollment over the summer when they definitely probably have a little bit more time than they do during this regular school year.
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
great. There's so many opportunities at 4Cs. We want to talk. So this is summer registration. If students wanted to, can people start their college career at 4Cs over the summer? Do they have to wait for the fall semester? So say someone wants to go to 4Cs. Can they start in the summertime?
They can.
Okay.
So they can start and fill out an application for the fall semester, but they can start taking some classes earlier in the summer if they'd like to.
Oh, great, because
Yeah.
that was going to lead to my next question, which is fall semester, getting people signed up. What's the application process like to enter Cape Cod Community College?
We try to make it as simple as possible for students. So we have an online application. The online application can be found right on our homepage. It's a little red button on the top of our homepage. That's www.capecod.edu. And students will fill out the application. And if they want to send us transcripts, they can from their high school. And we'd also love them to send transcripts from any college or university that they may have attended, because credits never go bad, so they can always get those if the grades were good enough to transfer in. And then after we receive the transcripts and the application, we accept the student to the college. So they can be ready to either do placement tests if they need to, which is where they can see what level they're at, or they can even go right in and pick classes.
Wonderful.
For the fall. Yeah.
I think that's a good thing to kind of reiterate, is that college credits don't go bad. Let's
Yes.
talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Because say you have someone that maybe went to college in the 60s. If they're still able to get those transcripts, which they should be able to do,
Yep.
those credits should still count towards their degree.
Yeah, as long as it's from an accredited college or university, it should definitely transfer in.
That's wonderful.
So it's something we can always work with with a student individually, and be able to go with the registrar at the college and myself in admissions, and we'd be happy to work with people to help them figure out what can transfer in.
Oh, that's amazing. I think that's so great, because there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that are interested in maybe going back to school that they haven't been in a while, but they're a little nervous. It's been a while.
Yep.
They're like, I don't want to retake all those classes I already took.
Right.
Way back when. So
Right.
that's great that that's able to happen. And I think that's important that we make sure people are aware of that.
Definitely.
College credits don't expire.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's a good thing.
Wonderful. Matt, is there anything else you want to tell our viewers about before I let you go?
If anybody else, if anybody else would like to contact me, you're always willing to contact the office, the admissions office, at 774-330-4311. And any one of the counselors in the office would be happy to help out.
Wonderful. Matt, thank you so much for talking to us all about admissions, especially coming up for this summer semester.
Yes, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
My guest today is Matt Cormier. He's the Director of Admissions at Cape Cod Community College. Now let's take a look at this week's board, committee, and commission schedule. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow with an all-new episode of Barnstable Today. On Tuesday's show, we'll talk to DPW Director Dan Santos, Director of Planning and Development Elizabeth Jenkins, and Senior Services Director Madeline Noonan. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Beal.